What's up, losers? Today I'm back with another fresh helping of r/fatlogic silliness. Because I have no life. And because you guys seem to enjoy these videos. This is episode 43 in the fatlogic series. And I have some very interesting posts for you all today. So without further ado, let's get into it.
As a fat person, I have love and compassion for the people in my life who are still dieting/restricting, and they will never be the people I am closest to or trust the most. My fatness is not separate from their pursuit of thinness. You can't be pursuing thinness and be safe for fat bodies. I deeply understand all of the reasons people diet/restrict and attempt to control the size of their body. I was in that space for many years, and there is no way for them to be the people I am closest to. There's no way to be pursuing thinness and also be safe for my fat body.
Wow, I bet this person is fun at parties. Not haha. I actually have a couple of different observations about this post, so I guess I'll just go through them, in no particular order. The first is that there's a really striking disconnect between how the poster is trying to represent themselves and how their mindset actually makes them come off. Like all of the language they use relating to compassion, empathy, and understanding, is clearly intended to paint them as an endlessly kind, open-minded, saintly individual, who cares deeply about others, and is unwilling to write anyone off. But at the same time, the overall thrust of the post is that it's perfectly okay, advisable, even, to distance yourself from people who have different goals or priorities to you. Even if those goals are totally harmless and have nothing to do with you. E.g. dieting. Don't get me wrong here. I firmly believe that we should retain the right to cut people out of our lives, or maintain distance from them, regardless of how close they might once have been with us. If someone is abusing you, leading you down a bad path, or just generally treating you badly, you're under no obligation to make an effort to stay close with them. And you would probably be better off not trying to. But dieting absolutely does not belong in the same category as these other behaviors that one might designate as red lines. It does you no harm, and it may do them a world of good in terms of health and well-being. If you would even consider cutting a friend off for losing weight. Outside of the most exceptional of circumstances, I'm forced to conclude that you were never their friend in the first place. Friendship is supposed to be about mutual support and encouragement, and putting your own ego ahead of your friend's health and happiness. Flies directly in the face of that. So yeah, needless to say, despite this poster's talk of compassion and love, I don't think they're a kind or understanding person at all. And, frankly, I think that any friends that they might cut off are better off without 'em anyway. My second observation about the post is how weird its talk of pursuit of thinness being unsafe for the fat body is. Like, what does that even mean? Based on the rest of the post, I don't think that this is saying dieting is unsafe for the fat person dieting themselves. I think it's saying that it's dangerous for fat bodies to be around other people dieting. Which I just can't wrap my head around at all. For one thing, why use the word bodies? Why not say people? It seems pretty weird to talk about bodies, rather than the people inhabiting those bodies, especially in a post that is, at least superficially, supposed to be rooted in empathy and whatnot. Maybe they just think it sounds more intellectual that way. I don't know. Either way, I fail to see how people dieting around fat people are harming those fat people's bodies. Are they giving off some kind of radiation that only targets fat people? Or something? I can't figure it out. I'm guessing it's just more quasi-religious fat acceptance gibberish. But if anyone else has an alternative theory, be sure to let me know. My last observation is much less substantial than the other two. But I'll share it anyway. This post is next level in its condescension. Like, it's a genuine talent to be this smug and self-righteous. This person must be like the Michael Jordan of condescension. It's kinda impressive, in its own way, so I gotta give a little respect. But also, I sincerely hope that I never have to meet them, haha. Because they must be a nightmare to deal with.
TW, fat phobia, food mention. I am so sick of seeing thin people claim they're a fat ass when they eat more food, or more unhealthy food than they usually do, and they'll do this shit to their pets too when they steal food, like they do know that being fat doesn't make you like a gluttonous beast. Right, like do we really have to start all the way back there to educate them?
Yeah, I think we do. There's a massive amount of mythology surrounding food and fatness that needs to be counted.
Popular culture very much believes people are mainly fat because they overeat and eat the wrong foods, but also, fat is not a synonym for full or bloated.
Once again, I have a few points I want to make in relation to this one. But this time, I think I'll go through them in accordance with when they were brought up in the post. From the top, people don't think that being fat makes you a gluttonous beast. But they might think that being a gluttonous beast makes you fat. Which, while a needlessly harsh and oversimplified description, is not entirely detached from the mechanical reality of how people become fat. It's always so strange to me how fat activists will adopt this essentialist mindset of ignoring the behavioral causes of obesity, treating fat people just like any other demographic group, and calling out the ideas that people have about fat people as mere stereotypes, with no basis in truth. It really speaks to the entrenched defeatism of the fat acceptance community. That they are so resigned to their weight, that they consider it an inherent characteristic like skin color or sexuality, despite it being something that they could change simply by reducing their food intake a little. To circle back to the gluttonous beast point, the reason people assume that fat people are gluttons is because being fat is caused by overeating. Is it more complicated than that? When you consider factors like mental health, life experiences, and education, sure, but on a fundamental level, that is how it works. It's not really a stereotype. It's just a judgment, an unkind, and perhaps unhelpful judgment, but not one that appeared out of nowhere, and not one that doesn't have a reasonable grounding in fact. Next up, the mythology around food and fatness. Yeah, there's not much to say about that one, is there? While I wouldn't deny that there's plenty of misinformation and quackery out there in the diet sphere, fat acceptance disciples are in no position to judge anyone in this regard, much less educate the public LMAO. To the final comment, yeah, people do believe that fat people are fat because they overeat, or because they eat foods that are too calorically dense. Because, well, it's true, I don't know what else to say. I will concede the point about the usage of the word fat to mean full, or bloated. I guess, in an ideal world, people would be more precise in their language. But at the same time, who cares? It's not a big deal. And at the end of the day, people are allowed to use words however they please. If you allow yourself to get worked up over stuff as trivial as this, it's only going to leave you frustrated. Because it's not like you can claim ownership of the English language, haha. So yeah, probably better to just chill out a bit.
The dieting community is based off fat phobia. And dieting without exercise sounds like a socially acceptable form of an eating disorder to me.
I've probably responded to the idea that dieting equals fat phobia like 100 times by now. So I'll just say, no, people are allowed to want to be thin, and to make personal choices about their life to that end. It's not an attack on you. And if you feel that it is, you're the problem. As for the second claim, that dieting without exercise, quote, sounds like a socially acceptable form of an eating disorder. No, can you just not? Eating disorders are serious conditions that wreak havoc on the lives of those who develop them and those around them. To trivialize these conditions by comparing them to responsible and moderate diet practices is wildly inaccurate and wildly irresponsible. Exercise or no, reducing your daily calories by a moderate amount to lose weight at a healthy rate and achieve a healthy size is nothing like an eating disorder. It doesn't put your health at risk. It doesn't control your life. And it doesn't cause you mental anguish. The two things have virtually nothing in common. Also, does this person not realize that people with eating disorders often compulsively exercise too? Which means that it makes no sense to separate dieting and eating disorders based on the presence or absence of exercise. I feel like if they really know what they're talking about, they should know that, but maybe they just forgot. I'm sure they're not just talking out of their ass. So yeah, the post is only like 20 words long, but it manages to demonstrate a fundamental misunderstanding of both dieting and eating disorders. The two main things that it's trying to comment on. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. Really. Just swell. Oh yeah, and for what it's worth, I can think of a socially acceptable eating disorder pretty easily. And that's binge eating disorder. And one of the reasons that it's become socially acceptable is because of fat acceptance clowns doing their utmost to normalize it. So great job on that. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the posts and my commentary. What do you think? Is being around people who diet dangerous to fat bodies? Do we need fat activists to educate us on the mythology surrounding food and fatness? Is dieting without exercise a socially acceptable form of an eating disorder? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll stand too close to some fat people while I'm on a diet and watch them burst into flames from my presence. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.